Today, innovation on the front line. Hello again, I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to this post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Today I want to take you to Western Australia and to share a story about Des, who has actually been involved in a very innovative project, and I think it gives us a very good case study of the sorts of things that we need to think about to create the momentum that we need in the economy. As I've said on several occasions, we need innovation, we need to invest in a green future, and we need the right structures and processes in place to make that happen. Well, Des works in the electrical engineering sector and is involved in a really interesting project. Des, it's great to have you with us. Thank you very much for your time. And can we just start with a little bit of background about yourself?
Yes, I've been involved in various projects over the last few years, last 20 years or so. We've done work with some of the big mining companies for install our generators, and we were in the process of looking for something else that might work well, and we came across this opportunity.
So the project was to install LED streetlights, solar powered.
The product itself, the solar-powered light, LED light, is pretty widely used in China. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago I was there. I was in a town, and the entire highway system and everything was lit up by these lights. And we first got one in here as a trial unit to put it into a playground up in the wheat belt town of Gowran, and they thought it was absolutely fantastic. It been, 12 months without any problems. And so we then decided that we would try and get out to some of the other shires. So we did a mail out to, there's about 100 shires in WA. We did a mail out to them. We got a couple of responses, and the one that turned out to be a good one was the Shire of Newdigate and Lake Grace, and that was back in March of last year. So we put together all the proposals and everything for them, and waited for 6 months before they made up their mind. But anyway, they did. And by December last year, we had the contract in place, and they decided they didn't want to do the install. So we also proposed to do that with our own people, subcontractors, and everything went ahead just before Christmas. And we ordered the lights in from China. We were very lucky to get them in before the close down of the supply chain due to the virus. And with the poles we ordered from here at the factory in Perth, and so everything was going ahead. We got the lights in January, and the poles were getting manufactured here, but that was all held up by the virus. The factory wasn't working. So end of April we actually got the poles ready and everything, and shipped it up to site, and got our contractors in there to start doing the install. There's a local guy up there with a bobcat and a borer on the back for digging the holes. There's a local concreter guy there. We got him to do the concreting, put the foundations in. And our guys went up and installed the poles and the lights, and took a couple of weeks. And it's all running perfectly now. Those lights are, what they wanted to do was to have them come on at about 6 o'clock, as the sun was going down, and go for till 10 on full power. And then they wanted it on a a basis where people walking by and that would come on till midnight, and that was it. They were shut down until the next day. So that was perfectly okay for the amount of sunlight they get up there is plenty, and they can they would never have to have a failure due to lack of light and the batteries not being charged and things like that. A lithium battery, lifetime about 8 to 10 years. The solar panel is actually on top of the light, and that's lifetime about 25 years. So, it's an ideal lighting thing for people in those areas. And we figured it saves them about, if they had to hook it up to the mains power, it'd be $100, $150 a year in cost, to run it. Whereas these things are free. Everything's from the sun. A little bit of maintenance maybe every now and again, but basically, you can just leave it. It runs for the rest of its life.
Yeah. So it's really interesting there, Des. I mean, there's a couple of interesting observations. The first is, of course, this is green power, so it's effectively environmentally very, very, very friendly. Secondly, it's quite innovative. I haven't heard, maybe there are other examples across Australia, but I haven't come across them as yet. So most of the street lamps around the place are actually powered off the mains system rather than actually off the off the solar. But importantly, it's the LED as well, right? So it's the combination of those technologies and the smarts in those technologies that actually are basically offering the opportunity there.
Yeah, and the regulations and specs and everything, because it's in the Shire, it's you don't have to comply with main roads, highway specs or anything like that. Very little difference anyway. But it complies with all the regulations, local. And I should imagine Australia-wide it would be the same for local shires and so forth.
I'm sure there'll be some differences, but no. But no, I take the point. But the other interesting comment that you made there was that the program of work actually provided work for a number of local traders, right? So it's a good example of an on the ground initiative that actually has created a body of work for a group of people to be able to actually be involved, right? Yeah.
Those guys were sitting around at this time in the middle of the virus thing, and they had no work, and they were really happy with it.
So I guess my question to you, Des, because you've been in business for a fair old time. How hard is it to shift into this type of area, so something that's relatively new? And did you have to jump through lots of hoops and things to be able to actually get there?
Well, just I'm an electrical engineer. We've been dealing with power generation for quite a while. Diesel generators mainly for remote areas.
Yeah.
And we'd had our supply lines pretty well sorted out with China. A decent factory up there that can answer all your questions quickly and get things done.
Yeah.
Been dealing with them for a number of years, so it wasn't difficult for us to go into that. And as a matter of fact, there's hundreds of these suppliers in China that build this kind of thing. But the people we've got, they're based on a German design, and it's all they're all pretty well know exactly what they're talking about all the time.
Okay.
So, but getting back to the question of getting these people, shires, making some decision about it. I mean, of the 100 that we went to, we got 2 replies back.
Right.
And as we were talking the other day, if we were able to say, look, there's a special financial institution or whatever you were talking about, if that gets off the ground.
Yes.
And we were able to say, look, if you comply with the simple sort of instructions or whatever they might have, you should be able to get some form of loan or whatever it is from this institution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
it up to them, like that, where it's not difficult. At the moment, I think the Shire of Lake Grace, they had a grant from somewhere, I don't know where. They'd had it for a year or so and didn't do much about it until we sort of got onto them. There's right across all of those shires, I think 50% of them would want something like this in their shire.
Yeah.
Even if it's replacing existing mains-powered lights or whatever in the streets.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the point, in our earlier conversation, and this goes back, you phoned me because you picked up the video that I made when I was talking about the need for infrastructure investment and the need for infrastructure finance to be able to actually make some of these happen, and the fact that there was potential opportunity, but that opportunity wasn't necessarily being capitalised on simply because of the way that the system worked in Australia. And therefore, this is a classic example of, if you have the right solution, as you do, and there's a need and there's a way of making it happen, then effectively it's a win-win-win, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And when I saw that show of yours, I thought, well, this just fits straight into what we need to get out. And here it is. It's not difficult. Just go and apply for it or whatever you have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And you were kind enough to supply us with some drone footage of the installations, which look very, very impressive, and some photographs. And we'll include those in the in the show, just to give people a bit of a sense of what it looks like. But it looks, pretty amazing to me.
Oh, it's great. The one from Newdigate, I think it must have been taken. There was a bit of wind. It was a bit shaky.
That's right.
But the guys that took the drone shot footage, they were our contractors that did the install. So that
okay, very good.
Drone fanatics,
Right.
So meanwhile, we're still doing the installed supply of generators. That seems to be still working, but we hope to expand this kind of installation that we've been doing for, I think, mainly country towns, but it can be for car parks, can be for anywhere in the city, as long as there's requirement for road intersections or playgrounds or anything like that. It would be well suited.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Des, I appreciate your time today. That's been really interesting. Is there anything else you'd want to tell me before we finish off?
No, I just think that you're doing a great job there, and if you can get the people, powers that be, to try and open up the scope of that finance corporation, it would be a massive start to get us out of the black hole.
Yeah, no, spot on. And, we're doing all we can to make sure that people understand that there is an opportunity if the thinking is put right into action to create opportunities that actually spill out into the local communities and can create local jobs and can create an innovative solution. And by the way, can create a green solution. So, as I say, it's a win-win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Des, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and I'll be interested to see what our viewers think of it.
Yep, thanks for having me, Martin, and showing the story.
So the point I want to make is that this, I think, is a really good example of a project that creates local jobs, is designed to be future-proofed in terms of the environment, and can offer significant opportunity. Now, why can't we get more of this done in Australia? This is precisely the sort of program that we need to take us to a different destination. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.